Tonight, opposition NDC fights off accusations by President Akufo-Addo that political opponents have targeted him and his party with a coordinated campaign of misinformation and disinformation.
I was the target of numerous false and malicious stories aimed at attacking my credibility and integrity. A fabricated document entitled Ejapadia is being peddled around by operatives of the opposition as evidence of a grand scheme by my party to annex the state, the assets of the state.
The president's concern with the Ejapadia document, as people keep saying, should be more about a sober reflection.
Plus, we tell you why the NDC is already vowing to resist the government's National Action Plan against misinformation and disinformation, which is currently before Cabinet.
If we want to pass any other action plan, let it be a legislative instrument. There are many lawyers in this room to the Right to Information Act. But anything coming from this cabinet, I completely disagree with.
We have the latest from a packed Ghana Report Summit on disinformation and misinformation ahead of the 2024 elections, where the information minister has stirred controversy by announcing that government plans to pass the controversial broadcasting bill under a certificate of urgency. Top Story is always brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies, holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. Now, tonight, the opposition National Democratic Congress is fighting off accusations by President Akufo-Addo that political opponents have targeted him and his party with a coordinated campaign of misinformation and disinformation. Speaking at the Ghana Report Summit on misinformation and disinformation on the upcoming elections, the president recounted how a disinformation plot was hatched to attack his reputation.
Nation campaigns often exploit societal divisions and amplify existing tensions, posing a risk to social cohesion. We've witnessed how such campaigns can incite violence and disrupt public order, as seen in other parts of the world. In the run-up to the 2008, 2012, and 2016 presidential elections, and Madam Sani, I'm not here to settle scores, I was the target of numerous false and malicious stories aimed at attacking my credibility and integrity. In 2008, baseless allegations of drug trafficking were spread, along with numerous rumors about my health intended to cast doubt on my ability to serve as president. President Kufuor was also accused in 2008 of having sold all of Ghana's gold reserves. Again, the 2012 election saw false reports of my alleged arrest in London for drug possession and fabricated quotes designed to stir ethnic tensions. In 2016, it was alleged by sympathizers of the opposition that I had killed my late wife. Today, with a few months to the December 2024 elections, they are at it again. A fabricated document entitled Ejapadia is being peddled around by operatives of the opposition as evidence of a grand scheme by my party to annex the state, the assets of the state. These experiences underscore the importance of discerning truth from falsehood and the need for all of us to remain vigilant against the dangers of misinformation and disinformation.
Well, this has attracted some sharp reactions from the opposition National Democratic Congress. Their Director of Elections, Dr. Omani Boama, who was at this particular event, had a strong response for the president on the issues that he raised there, particularly on the subject of the Ejapadia document, which I believe you may have seen circulated on social media.
Mentioning Ejapadia, I had never read the document. And when the Ochehini mentioned it, I told myself, I have to read this document. The president has mentioned the Ejapadia document again. It gives me more encouragement to go and read the document.
So
but when you talk to people who have read the document, what they say is that the author of the document must either be a Nostradamus who foresaw what the MPP was going to do. So rather, I think the president's concern with the Ejapadia document, as people keep saying, should be more about a sober reflection. How come I campaigned to protect the public purse? How come I campaigned to develop Ghana? Yet this document is indicating that I came only for my people and for my clan. You understand? If I were the president, I'll be more concerned. I'm saying that instead of the president hastily blaming the opposition parties, the president should have a sober reflection about the content of the Ejapadia document as people are pushing out there, and check how come he has fallen so low to have manifested these things in his government, such that today people who have read the document are saying that that is the evidence, that is the evidence. I mean, how can the NDC be behind it? The president blames the NDC for everything. The president even blames the NDC for the economic mess in which his government has landed Ghanaians. The NDC, if you blame us, it's too late. You have 4 months more to ensure that a free and fair election is conducted. What we expect the president to also say is that he is ready and willing to hand over to anyone who wins the 2024 December 7 presidential elections. He should depart from the penchant to be saying that he's going to hand over to his running mate, his successor, his vice president. He must make a departure from that. The NDC
Blazer Sogan was at this particular summit and joins me in the studio with more on this. And let's start with this was set the stage to be a really tense conversation between both the NDC reps there, Dr. Mani Boama and George Bawa-Muktari, and the Information Minister, who were all dealing with the subject of misinformation and disinformation.
And we must state that we had representation also from the judiciary. The Lady Chief Justice herself was there because the National Security Minister appears to be giving indication that Ghanaians do not have faith in a number of institutions, the faith level for these institutions that are responsible for mitigating election disputes appears to be waning. It's the reason for which now all of the political actors are trying to find some sort of a middle ground. All agree that indeed disinformation, misinformation poses another significant threat, a reason for which they must collectively deal with the problem. The solution from the government side is that let's go with a national action plan that will tackle this whole problem, and that will also collectively address the issue of people peddling falsehood, as the president has indicated to us that he has been personally a subject of. It's the reason for which the NDC believes that the government is not getting things right. Because in terms of the approach, the NDC believes that you are just under 200 days away from the elections. This so-called national action plan is at the cabinet level, and government may not have enough time to exhaust it before the 2024 general elections. Is the reason for which the former communications minister, Dr. Mani Boama, raised some concerns about the approach that pragmatically must be used going into the 2024 general elections. He believes that squarely all of this should be placed in the remit of civil society, who would now name and shame all of the persons, platforms that are disseminating disinformation or misinformation. For him, that's the most practical way of dealing with the situation. But then you have the information minister saying, we have a track record of, first of all, bringing the RTI law. The president himself has led the charge in repealing criminal libel. So they have the record in terms of pushing things through and getting the strategic plan passed probably before the election so that we deal with misinformation, disinformation. It's the reason for which there was a heated debate between these two sides
and
on the matter.
fears that this whole action plan may be employed to sort of control
Gag.
the space and gag, political opponents.
Ahead of the election.
I mean, listen to him.
Listening to Larry, I was thinking about the impact of technology itself on misinformation and disinformation, and what disinformation and misinformation is also doing to technology, and the combination of the two on society. And it tells you, with internet in particular, and the world in our palms, whatever comes out of our mouth, whatever comes out of our fingers, can either create or destroy. He made incursions into something that I think His Excellency the President alluded to, which has to do with the National Action Plan, which is before Cabinet. My humble submission is that 4 months to an election, they would have to do a lot to subject the document to very broad consultation, lest it becomes a tool just to mute political opponents.
And we'll hear from the Information Minister's response to some of the concerns that you just heard there raised by the Dr. Manibama, who, by the way, is the Director of Elections for the NDC and also into ICT. And the concerns raised there were vehemently dismissed by the Information Minister.
Precisely. For the minister, their view is that, of course, they have the record when it comes to dealing with all of these issues, precisely looking at what it is that their government has done with the RTI law. And she then goes ahead to point out to some attempts that were made by the Ministry of Information and Government to try as much as possible to reach out to all of the political parties involved in the process. That includes a national stakeholders forum, which we understand was held a couple of months ago. The NDC, according to the minister, failed to show up. They did not present any official representation to deal with all of the issues that were coming up, and perhaps that might, according to the minister, have provided the platform for the NDC to raise the concerns that they are raising now. But then she goes ahead to talk about some of the interventions that we are likely to see. The fact that they plan to even go to the extent of passing some crucial legislation, which also possibly includes the broadcasting bill that may be done now under the certificate of agency, which the minister talks about at this forum.
The action plan and its development, it has come because over the past 2 years at the Ministry of Information, we've been preoccupied with engagements with key stakeholders from MDAs to CSOs to media organizations, media associations, fact-checking institutions, the EU, app developers. When we did the validation exercise on the action plan, they stated 64 stakeholders that upon approval by cabinet, we need to co-opt into a working committee to make inputs. And if you look at the list, I'm willing after today's engagement to share the draft document that we submitted to cabinet to Doc for his observation, so that he will have clarity that it is not intended to gag or to stop people from putting out information.
So what were they doing instead?
It is intended to give effect to our rights as Ghanaians to information, because spread of misinformation and disinformation are threats to right to information. But these are the key areas that the strategy is looking at. Media literacy. Also, we are talking about establishing a mechanism for reporting misinformation and disinformation. We are also talking about enhancing fact-checking mechanisms. We are also talking about promoting ethical media practice including establishment of fact-checking desk at various media houses, among others. And we're also talking about legislation. As I speak to you, we have the draft broadcasting bill before Cabinet. I went round on a media tour to engage stakeholders that we intend to bring it before Parliament under a certificate of urgency. And we hope that when it comes out of Cabinet, there will be that consensus for us to be able to pass it.
Already, we're hearing from the Ghana Broadcasters Association of GIBA. They're raising issues about this announcement because this is not what they were told when they were sort of consulting on this particular matter.
The initial disagreement was between Omani Boama's former communications minister and the current information minister, Fatih Abubakar. But then beyond that as well, there was the representative of the former president, who is now the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress. Joyce Bauer Mokhtari speaks for John Mahama at this very event, representing him, and also putting out what their position is on possibly having this bill go through before the elections. The NDC still maintains, even at this level, that if it will go before President Akufo-Addo's cabinet, this will be a no-no for them.
If we want to pass any other action plan, let it be a legislative instrument. There are many lawyers in this room, to the Right to Information Act. But anything coming from this cabinet, I completely disagree with. It will make no impact, it would have no solution, and certainly will only go to give credence to a certain perception that is out there. It is 7 years, 7 months too late.
But at the heart of this is what the state institution, the security agencies will do.
Yeah.
The IGP was also there. Any commitment from him on this?
He also, first of all, acknowledges that indeed there's a challenge with fake news, disinformation, or misinformation, which is creeping in deep ahead of the 2024 general elections. And for him, there are a number of factors that will need to be rolled out to tackle this. But he's also calling on Ghanaians to, first of all, support the security agencies in the event that they would want to now crack down on persons that are intentionally peddling falsehood. And beyond that as well, he says critical thinking must work.
The first point of call, which has been properly addressed by my colleagues and friend, Evans Mensah, when he was talking about the production of the manufacturing unit of such misinformation and disinformation. And the sponsors, both financial influence and others, of such people. Let's deal with them in two ways. Through the principle of moral persuasion. Because some of them may not know. They are just being used for the parochial limited interest of an individual, a group, and therefore they just carry along and run with it. Persuasion will help some of them to get out of the trouble, even including some of the sponsors of these activities, when their conscience are pricked to the fact that why do you allow a personal limited interest to override a national interest? Because your personal interest, when it survives and the national interest collapses, you have no interest. And if they fail, through the art of persuasion, work with us to use the full force of the law.
And so today we got a unique insight into how government plans to approach this highly controversial broadcasting bill. The information minister was clear that it is going to go before Parliament and it will attempt to pass this under a certificate of urgency. The Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association are weighing in on this. I want to bring in the president of the association, Cecil Sunkwa Mills, joins us right now. Samson Lala Yenini himself is a watcher of this space very closely, also joins us as a lawyer. Gentlemen, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Welcome.
And Cecil, this is what the information minister said on this particular matter.
And we're also talking about legislation. As I speak to you, we have the draft broadcasting bill before Cabinet. I went around on a media tour to engage stakeholders that we intend to bring it before Parliament under a certificate of urgency. And we hope that when it comes out of Cabinet, there will be that consensus for us to be able to pass it.
I mean, Cecil, the GIBA, the Independent Brokers Association, have you been consulted on this? Do you know that this has been the plan all along? Hello, Mr. Mills. Okay, let's see if we can fix that particular line. This is something that they've been engaging government on for quite a while. But something you've been also at the heart of trying to get this bill dealt with in a way that is consultative. At some point, part of this went to the courts, and it failed. Now we're hearing from the information minister on the approach. Your reaction?
I believe that the apprehension should not be dismissed or written off. First of all, I am not aware the particular bill that is making the rounds at cabinet as the minister speaks about. I have been very familiar with the processes for a very long time now, starting with the 2014 bill, broadcasting bill, to the next and to the 2019 bill, which was the point at which the brakes were applied, so to speak. Now, Evans, we have a media regulation landscape that in Ghana we have, unfortunately, the political leadership has, for reasons best known to it, of course we know why, decided to divert and divest the constitutionally mandated body, the power and authority to be in control of the space, that is the National Media Commission, and rather set up an organization or an inferior body, which is the NCA, the National Communications Authority, and giving that authority almost power that is so dangerous, but in that authority, which is not constitutionally set up, in that authority, you have political persons from the very top to the end in that place. They behold to the president. And it can be very dangerous. Let me read a line for you from a document that was presented a couple of years ago by George Sapong of the National Media Commission on digital migration and the democratization of Africa's information space, threats and opportunities. A very small portion of it. He says, an example from Kenya may serve to illustrate the point. Following the general elections in 2017, the Rainbow Coalition, led by Raila Odinga, disputed incumbent Uhuru Kenyatta's victory, citing foul play, intimidation, and a rigged electoral system. As a symbol of opposition to the results, Raila Odinga swore himself in as president. Even after Kenyatta's official ceremony, during Odinga's swearing in, digital channels were shut off. Make note of that. Digital channels were shut off under circumstances that pointed fingers towards government interference. Kenyans and the world got to follow events mainly because the country was in simulcast. The period of dual illumination when both digital and analog channels were still running. In the past couple of years, African governments have tried several methods to restrict information flow they consider unfavorable. So this is what we know is the danger terrain. We should get to know what is in this new bill, so to speak. In the other bill, we knew that some of the reasons why it never saw the light of day was that there were provisions that were going to restrict the monopolization of the media space by the rich, and particularly politically exposed persons. So if you are a politically exposed person, you will not be giving a frequency authorization license. We know, Evans, you and I know, there are things that we don't always say. When the government came into power, immediately one of the things it did was to begin to shut down media houses in the name of they owing certain fees they had to pay and having defaulted. We know the facts will show that there were media houses that were aligned to this government who were indebted, who were in the same circumstances as your radio goals of this world that were shut, that were not shut. We know how in the NDC regime, they just distributed the frequency authorization like confetti. People who were not qualified to receive authorization license for TV or radio, some of them took it and went and sold them. So when this government came, they also decided that they needed to get their members to control the airwaves. Part of that was after they did the shutting down, revoking licenses, they didn't seem to have enough because it's a finite resource. So what did they do? They said they are going to implement a policy to cut down on the bigger media houses and take away some of their frequencies.
I mean, is it your fear
so
that
media houses
this
that were
proposed...
operating 100 radios and more, they cut them to 45.
Yeah, and
so
is it your fear something?
And give to their own people.
Yeah, is it your fear that this draft bill, which is now before cabinet, may have certain provisions in there that may still be inimical to the interest of freedom of speech and the proliferation of the media?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, stay with me then. Stay with me because the president of the Ghana Independent Broadcast Association, hopefully, is on the line and can hear me. Mr. Sumkomils, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, yes. So the minister has announced today that the bill is before cabinet and the plan is to take it to cabinet and have parliament and have it passed under certificate of urgency. You've been in contact with the ministry trying to negotiate an outcome that it's fair to all. Is this your understanding of how the approach will be executed?
Thank you, Evans. What we had expected and what we had actually asked for was that we definitely needed to view the draft document and know what is actually contained in it, because there were a number of things that we asked for, which would make it also will also protect the media and make it quite rigorous but still fair. So we see the document. It will be very difficult to tell what is inside, and that is a worry. That should this document go ahead and get to the point where it's approved without any comment or input from our stakeholders, and I think we are major stakeholders for the bill. It's a broadcasting bill, and this is mainly the broadcasting media. So the minister, I know they had both. The minister had agreed that we will definitely view it. So it's a bit surprising if they bypass it. So we will see what happens.
Well, but
they should let us take a view and be comfortable.
Well, she's announced categorically that the approach is to have it passed under a certificate of urgency. That means if it goes to Parliament today, and remember that they've already signed signatures for Parliament to be recorded, it can go to Parliament when the Parliament record or when they resume fully. It means it can be passed in a day, within 24 hours. What's your reaction to that approach by itself?
I think we'll stand by and wait, because the minister specifically did tell us that she would make sure that we have it ready. So it can happen, but let's see if it does happen, and then we'll take it from there.
The document that has gone to cabinet, did you have any input into it?
We did have the document from 2019. We did have some input that was in it. We did have an input, but how would you know if that input was even considered? So till we see it, we cannot tell if any of the contributions that were key to the media industry, the broadcast industry, has been considered.
And something briefly, considering how important this document is, and if you listen to the context within which the minister announces the certificate of urgency approach, she puts it with the context of the elections, but the need also to control misinformation and disinformation as part of this broad national action plan. That is urgent, is it not? And isn't that why we need this passed quickly?
No, when you are getting close to elections, you don't take
bill,
these steps, and we need to talk about emergency situation.
Hello, Cecil. Let me get Samson's take on this quickly, and I'll hear your thoughts on the same question. Yes, Samson.
When you get this close to elections, you don't take these steps and tell us that it has to be done under a certificate of urgency. Who created the urgency?
Hello, Samson. Okay. We may have a challenge there with Samson's line, but I still have Cecil with me. Cecil, your comment on that it's urgent. That's the context. Isn't it why you need it passed quickly?
Also, most of them, they don't think beyond their political parties. They actually represent themselves most of the time. They don't represent the people. I'm sure they are getting to appreciate that people are getting fed up with them for the way they continue to conduct themselves. So I think it will be a very bad thing to move under a certificate of urgency when this has been such an important document. As far back as 2004 or so, the project began. What happened? The 2019 bill, the one that we all have, I have a copy of that. We reviewed it. Now, what has happened to it? We need to see it. We need to see it. We must know where we have gotten to with it, so that you don't smuggle things in there just before midnight to elections, and then we wake up and you are shutting our media, media space. No, that should not happen. The provisions about disqualification of politically exposed persons, are they still there? Have they been removed from owning and operating media conglomerates and enterprises? Are they still there? Have they removed them? What was the wisdom that led to their removal, if they have removed them? Or now they feel that sufficiently they have satisfied the political class because it's a finite resource, it's almost finished. So that one can be removed, or we can keep it there and it will have no retroactive effect. We need to look at it and be clear about it. A more significant point, Evans, was the point at which I started. The power and onerous power, almost unchecked power, undemocratic power exercised through statute by politically appointed persons, including through just one individual, by the vehicle of the NCA, which in many respects does not pass constitutional muster, but we have allowed, should not continue. The NMC, which is a constitutionally constituted authority, is the one that we must allow to have a commanding lead in the space. So we need to know, are all these taken care of?
And these are questions that we'll be interrogating now that we know the approach the government plans to take on this. Something that in the earlier you had Cecil Sinkwamils, who is the president of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, on this particular matter as well. I want you to hear your thoughts on this. 05511119997. Still ahead.
Here on Newsnight, with Health Minister Dr. Bernardo Koboy says Auto Group, that's a service Auto Group, is yet to be paid money despite authorization from Finance Ministry.
Because of the public interest, I spoke to one of the deputy governors who have a working relationship when I was at Health Insurance. And the deputy governor made me aware that this is lodged with them, but not even $1 has been given to the provider.
We have details from today's Assurance Committee hearing where Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa has been pressing the minister to commit to not releasing any more funds to the company.
You have to be clear about this.
With all due respect, the accounts have a proverb that those who are wise, you don't speak in plain language with them.
Also, Agenda 111 was on the table. Government, they say, is causing financial loss to the state by paying separately for each design when most are the same.
But, Honourable Minister, are you aware that every single Agenda 111 project, we are paying for the design separately, replicating payments, which is amounting to causing financial loss to the state? Are you aware of that?
We have details of today's hearing. Also, tension brews at the University of Cape Coast following the termination of appointment of the Vice-Chancellor by the Council Chairman tonight, while UCC says the decision is arbitrary, capricious and devoid of any legal justification. The Governing Council, which is purported to have taken the decision, are also distancing themselves from the decision, saying it was done without authority and are asking all members to ignore same. Plus, the latest statement from the University's Public Affairs also rejecting the decision.
And in business, fresh data from banks showed cedi depreciation against the dollar slowed significantly for last month.
And this was Ghana's Rosie Eboa targets an Olympic medal as she gets set to make her debut in the high jump event on Friday.
That and more in tonight's edition of Newsnight. Do join us with your thoughts, your comments via WhatsApp is 055-1111-997. We are also live on myjoyonline.com. Do stay. Details after the break.
Hello, my name is Mami Akuya, an entrepreneur and a mother of two. My work keeps me busy most of the time, and sometimes it takes me away from my family. But the safety and health of my family is very important to me. As a working mother, I cannot afford to take any chances when it comes to matters of health. That is why I signed up for a family health care plan from Equity Health Insurance. My family and I have access to over 700 hospitals, clinics, opticians, dentists, pharmacies, and diagnostic centers across the length and breadth of Ghana. With Equity Health Insurance, I no longer have to worry about medical bills. Anytime a member of my family visits a hospital, Equity Health Insurance has got my family and I covered. What about you? Who has got you covered?
Call Equity Health Insurance on 050-660-7910 and talk to them about your family health needs now. Visit equityhealthinsurance.com for more information. Equity Health Insurance, here for you.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining in my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me dana mada with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Ghana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302-681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Ghana way, tell you so the more money promo nabo.
Everybody likes money, but what do we like more than money? More money! Join the Telecel More Money promo and win money, more money, and even more money. Simply opt in for free and reload your mobile and broadband and be the lucky winner of the 1 million Ghana cedis grand prize. Also win cash prizes of up to 3 million Ghana cedis in the daily and weekly draw. Opt in for free by dialing *500# or send WIN to 500, or you can opt in on the Telecel Play app. The more you reload, the higher chances of winning in the Telecel More Money promo. Keep loading, win, and be a millionaire.
Telecel. Connecting energies.
Terms and conditions apply. This promo is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas Lottery platform.
And we can go to Parliament now.
And Health Minister Dr. Bernardo Koboy has told the Assurance Committee of Parliament that the Service Auto Group is yet to be paid, despite Finance Ministry authorizing that they are paid for servicing some ambulances. Well, the $34 million contract has become the subject of controversy following revelation by the North Tongue MP Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. And Dr. Bernardo Koboy today had the opportunity to respond to questions from the North Tongue MP today as chairman of the Assurance Committee. And he explained that the BOG has informed him no money has been paid to the group yet.
Because of the public interest, I spoke to one of the deputy governors who have a working relationship when I was at Health Insurance. And the deputy governor made me aware that this is lodged with them, but not even $1 has been given to the provider. She used some terms, like I said, I'm not a finance person, that it is actually a letter of credit. That it is when the provider has actually performed, supplied parts to certain tunes and supplies the work executed, that they are empowered to pay for the work done. And so the governor had made me understand that they have it with them, but they've not paid. Again, the processes, controller to BOG saying we've not paid any amount. All these are trails which as state actors should be willing to give information. I deliberately didn't make my PR team put in this part of BOG not having paid $1, because I believe that they also as an organization, if called upon, should be able to say it for themselves. But I'm saying all this so that those watching know that all actors, once they are in the process, should be armed with relevant documents to show what they've done.
So this $34.9 million contract, do you have a copy? Who signed the contract? Have you seen the contract?
No, all I'll say is that, with all due respect, whatever is required of us, once there are documents or activities that we as a ministry have engaged in, we will make it available.
So can we get a copy of the contract? We want to see a copy of this $34.9 million contract.
Honorable Chair, any document which is a public document executed on our books is for public record. It is only if it is not a record executed within my end that will suffer difficulty. But otherwise, we don't have a problem with it.
So that's the Health Minister, Dr. Bernardo Koboy. Well, but the North Tongue MP has been criticizing the government for awarding such a contract to a company that has been cited by the Auditor General for so many infractions.
Report of the Auditor General on fleet management of the National Ambulance Service, which was published May 25th, 2022.
Honorable Chair, I have cited the document. Yeah, I've cited it.
And you've read it, or you only cited it?
Oh, when these issues became a matter of public interest, I tried to get as much as information as I can. So I got it, but I don't think I've exhausted the whole document. I know it exists, yeah.
This Auditor General's report, I will, on behalf of colleagues, admonish you to kindly read it fully. You really be worried about the state of our National Ambulance Service. But more importantly, you will be shocked that Service Ghana Auto Group Limited, after the indictment, that they over-invoice, they were not even registered when they were asked to come and service this company. It was not an incorporated company. They were working 8 months before they signed the contract on September 10th of 2020. They're engaging in shady dealings. They don't even have staff. They are using National Ambulance staff to carry out this servicing. Very damning report. Why will you, after this report, give this same company a $34.9 million? I mean, is there value? Did you do a value for money audit?
Let's bring in a parliamentary correspondent. Kweku Asante is with me on the line right now. Kweku, Samuel Blakwa has been pressing the minister to commit to not release any more money to the company.
Well, yes, Evans, we know that the total contract sum is 34 million. The former finance minister, Ken Oforiatta, authorized the release of some 10 million, leaving about 14 million in balance that the government would have to settle Service Auto Group. And Samuel Blakwa says the minister must commit to them at the committee that they are not going to release any such money. But the minister did not want to publicly say that, but he said he was quoting what they call PRESEC language, because both he and Samuel Blakwa went to PRESEC. But Samuel Blakwa said the answers the minister gave were simply not assuring to the committee enough. Listen to their interaction.
All I'll say is that as a public servant, I wouldn't do anything that would break the financial rules or jeopardize our resources. I act judiciously. That's what I'll say. Thank you.
No, Minister, you haven't said anything. We don't understand what you have said. It sounded like Greek. Please break it down to our understanding. You know, my vice chair says that she doesn't understand. I'm sure ranking member doesn't understand. Can you be clear and specific and definite? This is Assurances Committee.
Honorable Chair, yes.
We don't joke with our assurances.
Honorable Chair, with all due respect, because of the matters surrounding this arrangement for an officer who is connected to say, I'll not even do further payments or commitments. Some way, somehow, that in itself brings you into the matters. All I'm assuring you is that I know that I am accountable to the state and to those who appointed me. And so, just as you would expect of me, I would only act in a manner which is in tandem with the financial rules and would be very judicious with how I apply resources.
Well, Honorable Minister, a while ago you confirmed that there is no parliamentary approval for this. So, under what basis are you going to continue these payments? Parliament has not approved $34.9 million, not in the health budget, not in finance budget, not in the NHIA formula. So, I mean, what's going on in our country?
Honorable Chair,
you have to be clear about this.
Honorable Chair, with all due respect, the accounts have a proverb that those who are wise, you don't speak in plain language with them. All the references you've made are references anchored in financial rules. So if I'm saying that I'll operate in a way that is in tandem with the financial rules, and I will not jeopardize our resources, with all due respect, it's a preset language, Honorable Chair. You are safe.
And Kweku, why did the minister then go ahead to admonish Okudzeto Ablakwa, the chair?
Well, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa had been, in his own words, passing some damning judgments on the company. The earlier insert you played, let him talk about the Auditor General's report and the so-called indictment they had made against the company. The minister says, given that this has gone to the special prosecutor by virtue of Okudzeto Ablakwa's petition to that office, Okudzeto Ablakwa should cease with a judgment until that body concludes their investigation.
Matters of apparent impropriety or corruption. Biblically, even God who made the universe and all of us says that when he makes an accusation, he calls on the subject to come and state their part. And I know that those who have done law is one of the fundamental principles, that no matter how convincing the case looks from the plaintiff, the defendant should at least be given a chance to also state their part. I know as a senior in PRESEC, you've had some crusades in various areas, but I always have this abiding stance that if even on the surface, all the ingredients of your case is very appealing and almost concluding of corruption, I will still have the patience for those who are named or alleged to also say something. So, Honorable Chair, I would like to indulge you so that we allow, I call them third parties. I believe that if I make a case as a ministry against a vendor or a stakeholder, it will not be fair for me to be the judge. So we should allow, and I'm happy that a third party, like I call them third because they are outside you and the vendor. I'm happy that a third party like SP has come to interview you. We should allow any third party established by law that calls upon us will provide the necessary support. And I believe that vendor is not above the law. That vendor would also show up. So
that there is the health minister before the assurances committee chaired by Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, who, by the way, filed the petition with the special prosecutor. The special prosecutor acknowledged that petition. Subsequently, Okudzeto Ablakwa claimed that he came by additional information which he had then submitted to back his earlier petition.
But we had heard from the special prosecutor in that receipt notification mentioned that they had to establish whether they have the mandate to actually undertake this particular investigation. So it's yet to be known whether indeed now they've established that mandate and that they can go ahead with the investigation.
Indeed. And today, we've also seen a statement from Service Ghana Auto Group Limited, the company at the heart of this, and they deny vehemently the allegations made against them, including the threat to media houses covering this, that they are serving notice on those peddling false allegations, including by media without attempts to verify same with them, and that they the companies in the transaction have all material times, including during the competitive procurement process, conducted themselves with integrity and complying with due process of law. They talk about the fact that they actually were subjected to a very rigorous competitive tendering process and that they were not sole sourced and that it was a consortium that came together. And they also insist that they submitted the most competitive bid in the process of $133,000 per ambulance. And they quote other companies, and I won't mention their names for obvious reasons, but they quote that in their statement, saying they presented higher bids. For example, one they claim quoted $255,000, and another quoting $300,000 per ambulance in terms of the servicing and repairs, and that they had quoted $133,000. Now, to the very controversial subject of how much they've been paid, this is what they say in this particular document, and for the first time they detail what has happened. They claim that the contract specifies a budget for spare parts for a period of 5 years, contingent upon the approvals of both the Bank of Ghana and the Public Procurement Authority and they themselves. And they say that they have dedicated warehouse facility in Tema for secure storage and management of imported parts for use by the National Ambulance Service, because one of the accusations that were leveled against them is that they didn't have the capacity to execute this particular contract. Now they say that the $34.9 million, of which letters of credit was established for $10 million, is falsely assigned to cover only mechanical parts, and the figure again deceitfully allotted to about 113,000 worth of spare parts per an ambulance. Now, they say, in fact, over 45,000 mechanical and medical parts, they now say they are actually owed money. 45,000 mechanical and medical parts have been supplied to the National Ambulance Service since the ambulances were delivered. Payment for some consignments have been in arrears, and a recent shipment financed with loans by this company is on its way to Ghana. Now, this is another part that's interesting because you know that the Auditor General themselves also did some work on this and indicted the company and the ministries involved here. They referenced that particular audit as a performance audit. And they insist that they had significant disagreements with that particular Auditor General's report, which it did not have the chance to contribute any responses to by way of the management letter. Nonetheless, they have since refunded, so this is important, they have since refunded the amounts wrongly labeled as double payments to salaried staff of the National Ambulance Service, when these were in the nature of ADHA for hard-working personnel. Now, they also say that the SGAGC, which is the Service Ghana Auto Group Limited, deploys its teams in a fashion consistent with a plan to train and transfer knowledge to staff of National Ambulance Service, 7 fleet separate from the 207 ambulances. That is 307 ambulances. So they have refunded some monies. This is on the back of the Auditor General's report. But to make it very clear on the matter of how much they've actually been paid, they state categorically and emphasizing that the Ministry of Finance established a $10 million letter of credit, not direct payment, quote, as falsely alleged, and that bank loans have had to be procured to finance key obligations under the contract. And as we know, the committee is now probing this. We don't know if this has come to the attention yet of the chairman. As you know, the chairman himself was the first to blow the whistle on this matter and what his responses have been.
Well, but let's stay a while longer at the Assurances Committee and Matters of Health. When the Minister of Health appeared before the committee, the issue about Agenda 111 hospitals also came up, and the fact that government is paying separately for each design of these hospitals, a concern for the chairman of the Assurance Committee. Well, we can hear on this matter, at least first, from the chairman of the committee on this particular issue.
But you have said nothing about the architectural consultant. I take judicial notice of your silence on that. Which company was given the architectural designs to execute?
Well, what I'll say is that I think, like I said, the project is being managed from the Office of the Chief of Staff. But we as a ministry are giving them 100% support to make sure that they come up as fit for purpose facilities. Honorable Chair, the content of the...
You know, Honorable Minister, it's a simple question. Very simple question.
Absolutely.
You were very kind to tell us about the Ghanaian contractors.
Yes.
That's for construction.
Yes.
We want to know about the architectural designs, the consultancy.
Honorable Chair, the vendor who handled consultants and all that, I don't have the details. Yes, we don't have the details, but yeah, we don't have the details.
So how come I have the details and you don't have the details?
I'm not saying they are not available, but like I said...
So are you telling this committee that you are not aware that Ajayi and Associates are the architectural consultants?
Honorable Chair, respectfully, usually I gather information that will serve the purpose of some of the questions that have come up. I needed to have these payments, have these projects where they've reached, so that at least members who are affected will know that something is happening. But all background issues, once you ask me, we can find them and bring them.
But, Honorable Minister, are you aware that every single Agenda 111 project, we are paying for the design separately, replicating payments, which is amounting to causing financial loss to the state? Are you aware of that?
Honorable Chair, those details, I have to get them for you.
That interaction between the chairman of the Assurance Committee, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, and the minister. Well, and we've been talking about the timelines for this particular Agenda 11 hospitals and the fact that it was supposed to be concluded in a year. It came up, and here's the minister's update on it.
We've actually categorized them as we speak into three bands. Band A are those that are 65% and above. Band B are between 65 and about 40%, whereas those lower, like this one, are in Band C. Meaning that those in Band A, about 28 or so facilities, are likely to see the light of day probably even before the end of this year. Honorable Chair, just as we have or experience in our private lives, if you plan to build a 3-bedroom house and you assume that you have some funds, the land will go smooth, and you encounter a dispute on the land, it can throw the timelines out of gear.
Well, so let's head out of the Assurance Committee now and let's go to the University of Cape Coast, where tension is brewing following the termination of appointment of the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Johnson Nyako Boampong, by the Council Chairman. Well, Professor Boampong Evans was initially appointed to a 4-year term in June 2020, which officially commenced in August 2020. Well, his tenure as Vice-Chancellor of the university came to an official end on July 31, 2024.
Well, despite a purported extension of his appointment for 2 years, a letter signed by the chairman of the governing council, Professor Harold Amumu Kofi, declared his extension null and void. But it is emerging tonight that the decision may have been taken single-handedly, in fact, unilaterally, by the chairman of the governing council. We have a number of statements reacting to the decision. UTAG, University of Cape Coast, says the decision is arbitrary, capricious, and devoid of any legal justification. The governing council, which is purported to have taken the decision, distancing themselves from the decision, saying it was done without authority. And they're asking all members to ignore same, plus the latest statement from the university's public affairs also rejecting the decision. What really is happening here? Let's go through them, Emefa.
Well, let's start with the termination letter, how this all started. That termination letter signed by the chairman of the governing council to Professor Boampong. So the chairman of the council is Professor Harold S. Amono Kofi. And this particular letter dated July 31st says, pursuant to your letter of appointment dated 17 June 2020, the University Council appointed you as Vice-Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast for a period of 4 years with effect from August 1, 2020. You are hereby notified your appointment ended and terminated on the 31st day of July 2024. Please note that the purported renewal or extension of your appointment as Vice-Chancellor at the Council's meeting on the 28th of July 2023 for a term of 2 years effective 1st August is void, and consequently same is revoked as it breaches the university statutes on renewal of appointment of the first of the Vice-Chancellor. So this is how it all started with this particular letter and that purported council meeting. So it's now emerging that there was no council meeting, at least from the statements that we're seeing. We have a statement from concerned members of the University of Cape Coast Governing Council, signed by a number of them, and they say they've cited with shock a letter solely and privately written by the chairman of the council, Professor H.S. Amono Kofi, purporting to terminate the appointment of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Johnson Buama. And we members of council can state emphatically that no such decision has been made by council in any of our meetings whatsoever. Then we have another statement also from UCC UTAG, also saying that this particular decision taken by the governing council is arbitrary, and then also they have a number of words to describe it. Plus, we have also a statement from the UCC itself also on this particular termination.
And the UCC itself says what?
They say that management has also come across this particular letter. They are saying that there was no council meeting. Management wishes to state unequivocally that council has not met to discuss or take such a decision, and that its last meeting held on Tuesday, 30th of July, records available indicate that matters discussed and decided upon did not include the Vice Chancellor's tenure, and they are asking all to actually disregard that particular letter sent to the Vice Chancellor.
Let's bring in Dr. Jerry Opoku, who's the president of the UCC UTAG, joins us on the line right now. And I'm curious, I've seen your statement, we just went through it. Have you had any chat where Professor Harold Amono Kofi told the governing council chair on why he altered this particular letter to the VC?
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As you clearly read, the council statute 4 of our university has not met to consider the appointment of the Vice Chancellor. We have not decided anything like that. So it is, I would say that it is the decision of the chairman of council.
As it stands now, the VC remains opposed, from what you understand?
Yes, because the VC's tenure was duly renewed by the council for a further 2 years. And even if you care to know, our statute 8.2 clearly states that the Vice Chancellor shall hold office for an initial term of 4 years, and the appointment may be renewed for a further term up to 3 years if it's not beyond the statutory retiring age of 60. And so the previous council renewed for a further 2 years. The current Vice Chancellor is not 60 years.
And when the council was taking that decision, was the chair part of it? Was he part of the council, the group that took the decision?
This is a new chairman. It was the previous council chaired by another person, specifically Professor Bimbi, who was chairing the university council then. Renewed for further 2 years. But the statutory retiring age of 6 is being contested in court. 60 years, sorry. It's being contested in court for the further 2 years. So was important that we wait at all to hear from the court decision. Then council can look at the court ruling. Then we can take a decision. So if the court has no ruled on the matter and the chairman writes this letter to terminate the appointment of the Vice Chancellor without recourse to council, he has acted ultra-vires.
The school itself also has a statement out. The public relations director joins us now. Kofi Bintum joins us now. Kofi, so where is the VC as we speak? Still at post?
Yes, he is.
And
he's still at post.
He's still at post?
Yes.
He received the letter from the chairman of the council?
I saw the letter on social media this morning, and to the best of my knowledge, as we speak, I haven't seen a former version of it. All that I've seen is the social media ones on WhatsApp and other places. But it is possible that since I am not the one he is writing the letter to, it is possible that the official copy may have gone to the Vice Chancellor and other addresses.
But you've not received an official copy, yet you issue a statement telling the public to disregard the governing council's chair's letter to your Vice Chancellor.
Yes, because what I saw the chairman's signature under it, and I know that to be his signature. Even though I tried to call him to confirm from him, but I couldn't get him online. But because the issue was spreading, it was important that we set the records straight immediately.
Well, whilst you still confirm that, it means that people can also say that your statement can be disregarded. But really, let's get into some of the issues that have come up. At least we are told that the Vice Chancellor is turning 60. We've heard Dr. Opoku Ansah take us through your statutes. But Statute 8.15 also talks about when a vacancy occurs or is about to occur in the office of the Vice Chancellor, a search committee shall be constituted. Can you tell us if a search committee was duly constituted as the extension was given to the Vice Chancellor?
Not that I'm aware of. I know that after his before the 4-year ended, the council met and then went through some process, and then he was given the extension.
Dr. Opoku Ansah, are you able to provide some further updates on this? Because you talked about it not being beyond the statutory retiring age of 60. He's turning 60 this year. What happens?
Turning 60 next year. It's not this year.
Next year?
Yes.
Okay. Well, but you've seen the statute that I'm talking about also. I'm asking if indeed a search party was duly constituted according to your statutes.
Yes. So first, the reaction is that I have cited your first question about whether the university has been served with official letter from the whether the Vice Chancellor has received official letter from the Chairman of Council. I've cited a letter from the Vice Chancellor indicating that the letter was sent to him via WhatsApp by the Council Chairman. So it means that the Council Chairman sent the letter to the Vice Chancellor on WhatsApp. So it means that the Vice Chancellor received the letter from the Council Chairman. Now, on what you are asking, the statutes says that when there's a vacancy, the registrar shall cause counsel. So the Vice Chancellor is appointed by the instrument, and it says that the Vice Chancellor tenure can be renewed. So whenever there's a vacancy, it's the registrar that will inform the council that there's a vacancy. Here is the case: there's a sitting Vice Chancellor whose tenure can be renewed up to a further 3 years in our statutes. So in that case, there's no vacancy. It's the registrar that will inform council that there's a vacancy. So at that instant, there was no vacancy. And so when there's no vacancy, you can't constitute a search committee. It is when there's a vacancy that the council will constitute a search committee. So when there's a sitting Vice Chancellor who has applied for renewal of appointment, registrar doesn't cause council that there's a vacancy. And so in that instance, we don't call for a search committee.
What then happens going forward? Because we've seen that letter from the council chair. You're also saying that we should disregard it and that it was an arbitrary decision taken by the council chair. What happens going forward?
Yes, it is our hope that our council chairman will retract this letter so that council can meet. And then if there's anything, we can take decision as a council. And so it's our hope that he will do the needful and retract the letter.
If it does not?
If it does not, UTAG we will have a meeting and then we will communicate to the public, because we think that as a council we must protect the status of the university. And so we wouldn't want anybody to act contrary to the status of the university. Else we may be there one day and maybe not this council chairman, another council chairman will come and we sack all the staff in the university. I don't think we should allow this to happen. No.
Okay, we're grateful. That's President of UCC UTAG, Dr. Jerry Opoku Ansah. And this issue definitely will not be the last time we're hearing of it, following it closely.
George Affe is here with business. Hello, George.
Hi, Evans. And coming up, fresh data from banks showed city's depreciation against the dollar slowed significantly for last month. And MTN expressed concerns about second half of this year remaining challenging for them due to high inflation levels and election-related risk. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, Syntex Tanks, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Hey, so as for you, every day you are just pressing your phone. Why? Are they paying you?
They are, Oma.
Eh?
The more I use my MTN, the more points I get. And I can use those points to get airtime, data, and even discounts at shops and restaurants.
Hey, so that is why all of you are always pressing your phones. And you won't tell us, so that we too we can enjoy some.
Oh, ma.
There's always more to enjoy with MTN Rewards. Just keep talking, testing, and browsing all day, every day to collect your points and use it to redeem amazing offers and discounted freebies right away. There's so much available for you. So dial *550# and get your reward today. Let's go everywhere you go.
Kweku, have you heard what they are doing on MTN?
Choboy! Yeah. We have a new leader in town. OBRNT. Amanfo. Madam was Sibebre. When him say my baby, maybe mamu more charcoal for whiter teeth. More charcoal. Not only that, maybe mamu lemon. More lemon. Zinc for fresher breath. More zinc. And fluoride for stronger teeth.
Introducing the new President Charcoal Pack with more power with a combination of charcoal and lemon for naturally whiter teeth. Grab yours now. This advert is FDA approved.
The luckiest. Luck is everywhere. For everyone, yeah. The luckiest. Luck is everywhere. For everyone, yeah.
Doctors,
nurses,
barbers,
drivers,
bouncers,
friends,
teachers,
bankers.
Let's go.
The luckiest. Luck is everywhere. For everyone, yeah. The luckiest. Luck is everywhere. For everyone, yeah.
Doctors,
nurses,
barbers,
drivers,
bouncers,
friends,
teachers,
bankers. The luckiest. You could be the luckiest.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, city depreciation against the dollar slowed significantly for July last month compared to May and June. And this is based on fresh data we've picked up from some of the commercial banks. There is more in this report.
Of depreciation against the dollar at around 1% compared to the 7% in May and 2% in June. The data may again support early argument by the Bank of Ghana governor that the city has started responding to recent development in the economy. The development may also result in what the Bank of Ghana describes as expect a relative stability for the Ghana cedi in the coming weeks. The local currency has been trading in markets for 15 Ghana cedis range against the dollar over the past weeks. The Bank of Ghana has also been a little bit active on the market when it comes to dollar supply. It is believed all these developments together with the current happenings on the market that contribute to the city's performance.
And that is a business tax report. Meanwhile, from January to July this year, some of the market players put the city's depreciation against the dollar at around 24%. Now, government has revealed that it will decide on the status of the COVID-19 levy after this year as it rules out scrapping it. Now, there has been a strong push for the levy to be removed as concerns grew over the relevance of the tax, looking at the hardship facing people in the country. But the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry said the levy is still being used to finance other key expenditure approved in the budget. She's also been talking about what the government is going to do about the e-levy and other taxes.
Government heard you and government has responded. And so let's wait and get there.
No, but madam, you're going to advise your minister on the way forward. So if it's coming in next year, are you going to take up the e-levy?
Let us get there and then we'll know what to do.
You're going to look for, so it takes off January next year with the tolls, or what is the timeline here?
Government said 2025.
Yeah.
Yes, from next year.
Yeah, that's January next year, of course.
You know, the road tolls and the fees and charges, and you don't just the fees and charges will have to go through a process. So it is not that you introduce and that's it. It has to go through the process, and then once it goes through the process, it is brought to the subsidiary legislation, and then it sits for 21 days, sitting days. You understand? Before it matures into.
So that means the process will start from this year, before getting necessary approval?
No, government says 2025, and so 2025.
So nothing will be done about the e-levy if it's going to take off next year then?
Can we be patient?
That is the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Abna Hussein Asari. Now, former Minister of Finance, Tekpe, has raised concerns about the mid-year budget review as it failed to give the true state of the economy and outlook. The Finance Minister that is raising these concerns at this time, or the former Minister of Finance is raising these concerns that the budget could have done more by giving us some clarity on a lot of issues. Let's hear him on some of the concerns that he's been raising.
A media review of the medium-term scenario that the government presented, despite the fact that we are in an IMF program where the data released by the fund itself goes to 2029. But we would have even been content with a review of our 2027 medium-term review, nothing of the sort. 2017, when attention was being drawn by myself and others, who have some knowledge of the fiscal, that our pushing things in as memoranda, especially what we have now come to know as the bailout costs in the energy sector, debt and arrears, which were being pushed, made us think that we're doing well from 2017 to 2019, and then the IMF, came up with Article 4, 2019 to correct the government figure.
Former Minister of Finance, Seth Tekpe. Now, telecoms giant MTN says it is still looking at the second half of this year remaining challenging and could impact on its operations. Now, these concerns were captured in the half-year financials to investors and shareholders of the company. There is more in this report.
MTN noted that their warning was based on the fact that inflation continues to be high, the currency volatilities, as well as election-related risk associated with the economy. The telecoms giant also expressed worry about how these developments could impact on the operations going forward. MTN noted that despite this challenge, it will institute the right measures to ensure that it will be able to withstand the expected shocks, which actually helped it to post some strong earnings for the first half of the year. It also announced that it will continue to invest to develop its platforms and improve its network and services to unlock the value for stakeholders in line with the Ambition 2025 strategy. It also adds that it will continue to strengthen its balance sheet against election-related and macroeconomic uncertainties.
And that is a business tax report. Meanwhile, shareholders of MTN are expected to enjoy an interim dividend of 65 pesos for the second half of this year. This is based on how the company has performed for the first half of this year. Now, according to him, the dividend will be transferred electronically to the bank accounts or mobile money wallets of the shareholders of the company. Let's turn our attention to the market, and it appears that the solid financials of MTN is impacting on its shares on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Today, it was up by a peso to close at 2 Ghana cedis, 43 pesos. That of Benz Oil was also up by 2 pesos and is now worth 23 Ghana cedis, 2 pesos. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
Thank you very much, Joy. Mulbao is here with sports.
Hello, Evans. Well, Ghana's Rose Yeboah is set to set her sights on winning a medal at the Paralympic Games. The high jumper, who secured a qualification with an incredible 1.97 meters jump at the NCAA Championship in Eugene, well, ahead of her debut tomorrow, she is already targeting a place in the finals and possibly winning a medal for Ghana. Joy Sports' Daniel Krante has more on her in this report.
She's a two-time African Games champion, two-time African champion, African Under-20 champion, World University Games champion, and now an Olympian. Rose Yeboah's steady rise in the women's high jump is nothing short of inspirational. The first of her 2 African Games winning performances came aged just 17, while she was still a student at the Cape Coast University. Now at 22, she's poised for her Olympic debut, becoming Ghana's first ever female representative in the high jump, and it couldn't have come at a better time for the University of Illinois athlete. Yeboah is currently the leading high jumper at US collegiate level, becoming an All-American and the NCAA national champion earlier this year. After sealing qualification to Paris with a height of 1.97 meters, which also set a new national record, Yeboah enters the women's high jump ranked 12th in the world, testament to her remarkable journey in the sport. Her willingness to break boundaries has never been in doubt, and Yeboah says she's already picturing herself in the final of the women's high jump in Paris.
Ghanaians, I would say everyone should expect me qualifying to the finals and see myself in the podium. It will be such a great experience if at least I make it to the finals and at least get a medal.
Yeah, that's Rose Yeboah there making her debut in the women's high jump tomorrow. She's going to be participating exactly at 8:15 in the morning, so you can make a date and see how she fares. Well, Ghana will continue their participation on Saturday with the women's 50 meters freestyle. Joselle Evans Mensah will be in there, and still on Saturday, Benjamin Azamati and Abdul Rashid Saminu will also participate in the 100 meters, the men 100 meters. So that's what is coming up for the Ghanaian athletes in the Paris Olympic Games on Friday and Saturday. Evans, that's it for sports.
Thank you very much. Now, the cost of some 60 flood control projects awarded by the Ghana Hydrological Authority between 2019 and 2023 may be going up because government has failed to provide timely funding for the projects. Now, over 400 million cedis contract, according to the Auditor General's report, was awarded for the construction of storm drains and a sea defense project at various locations across the country to address the perennial flooding situation. Now, the Hydrological Authority appeared before the Public Accounts Committee today to answer questions on the delay. My colleague James Aveji has monitored the proceedings and is in the studio with me. Let's start with the specifics of this project.
Yes, Evan. So, total of 600 into 2 parts. One, which is the construction of drains and the improvement of others, amount to 319.5 million Ghana cedis. The other, which is the construction of the Discoff Sea Defense in the Western region, costs some 134.7 million Ghana cedis. The report indicated that 21 out of the 60 are yet to start, while the others haven't gone beyond 40% completion. The Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Hydrological Department Authority, actually, John Kisi, has been explaining to the committee why the projects have stalled.
I think as a first step, for some of these ones that have delayed inordinately, it is tied with the fact that they need some rate reviews. Because when you have now taken about a year and a half to pay them, and the cost of materials have changed significantly, unless you review the rates, they will have a difficulty in completing the projects. And as he mentioned, they have requested for rate reviews from us. We have asked for a legal opinion on the type of contract that they signed, whether or not it allows us to do a rate review, because there are some of the contracts that expressly stated in them you cannot review the rates. There are some that you can. So we are going through that process of doing the due diligence so that where rate reviews are applicable, we can apply them. Where we have to do an addendum because rate reviews are not applicable, but we can do an addendum as an agreement between the two parties, taking cognizance of all the facts, then we proceed accordingly. So we are in that process so that that can be done. Admittedly, in terms of fund releases, as I'm sure you are aware, you don't always get 100% of what is budgeted or requested for, because the revenue situation is one that is challenging. But we are trying to get these rates reviewed so that we can get them back on site.
What was the position of the committee on this?
The committee suggests that the Ministry of Finance should improve funding to the Hydrological Authority to see to the completion of this project to address the flooding challenges we have across the country. Evans.
And the controversial Saglame Housing project, the minister gave an update on what is going to happen.
Yes, he said in 2 weeks, Deloitte, which is auditing the 5 bids that have been received so far, would present its report, and by September, work should resume at Saglame.
Thank you very much. Now, Commissioner of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Brigadier General Zibrim Bawa Ayorogo, has given the assurance that corrupt customs officials exposed in the Joy News investigative documentary Porous Borders will not be spared if found culpable after GRA's internal investigations. He says the internal investigations should be complete within 3 weeks. Brigadier General Ayorogo was having a media engagement at the Bogatanga in Upper East region, where he was on a working visit.
Indeed, I've put up a team to investigate this issue, and I think that within 3 weeks, and I say 3 weeks, we should get the report on the matter. So that is what we are doing. I've seen the video myself. So we want to wait. Normally when there's documentary, you don't want to use it as the all in all. You want to conduct further investigation to ascertain the nature of the issue. So that is what we are doing now. Anybody who is found culpable in this matter will be punished. I said it clearly to them. To tell you I'll punish them in this way, that one, you yourself understand that you have to wait for the outcome of the investigation. And we'll punish based on policy. We'll punish based on the nature of the crime. I cannot tell you that I'll cut off the person's head, or I'll do this or I'll do that. They just patiently wait for the outcome of the investigations, and thereafter we'll institute the appropriate punishment.
And the Commissioner General of the Customs Division of the GRA also have been commenting on the porous nature of Ghana's borders and what is being done about the situation.
The issue of porous borders, as you indicated, indeed, the last time we met the Public Account Committee of Parliament, I indicated that in the current activities or way of doing things, we have to use what we call geospatial intelligence collection. And fortunately, on our part, the Japanese government is trying to help us in this direction. Normally, when you have geospatial intelligence collection, it helps in so many ways. The benefits are enormous. One benefit is that it gives us the level of border protection. We can determine that. It helps us to determine hotspots or trouble zones. Hotspots or trouble zones. It also aids us to know how to track, or gives us information on smuggling routes. So I have told my customs officers, please do not intimidate.
And that there is the Commissioner of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Brigadier General Bawa Ayorogo, ending News Night tonight. My name is Evans Mensah. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Up next is Personality Profile with Dr. Michael Ajakum Ado. He's the CEO of Mikado Holdings, who is on the show here on Joy 99.7 FM.
As you take me on that Lexus tour,